Really? I'm a grandfather. Hi, welcome to the show. It's actually really I'm a grandparent, but I'm a grandfather, and I'm a grandfather of four, soon to be five. Yes, one's on the way.
Wow.
I know it's like I'm too young for all of this. It's not fair.
That's what
But
I
I'm.
say.
I was like, how did this happen? Was I in high school like yesterday? No, I was not in high school yesterday. It was a few years ago. But yes, I am. I'm a grandfather for almost five, due in January. So I'm very excited with that. And as this comes out, you will have heard we're having complications with that baby. So continue your prayers.
Oh no.
Continue. Yes, it's not good. So continue your prayers, and we're gonna hopefully by the next show I do, I'll be able to give you updates on what's going on with my daughter and her unborn child. So let's keep our prayers going. Pray her up. Keep it going. My guest, he was on before, so I brought him back. He's actually our first returning guest on the show. We talk about a different subject. He has his own podcast, which I was on also. He's the cool grandpa. It's my friend Greg Payne. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing well. I really appreciate you having me back on, James. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yes, we got along great last time on each of our podcasts. We talked afterward, the whole thing. So I was like, let me call my friend up again in Atlanta and let's have this little discussion about something that's been on my mind that I didn't want to talk about myself. I wanted to talk about with someone else who's a grandfather also. So my number one question I want to ask again, so for folks who are listening to this for the first time, you're a grandfather of how many children?
I am now a grandfather of three. We had two the last time we talked,
Yes.
and then my son and daughter-in-law presented us with number three back in April.
Congratulations. And so how many grandsons versus granddaughters?
So I've got one grandson, and he is the oldest grandchild, and he just turned 4 years old. And then I've got two granddaughters, one that's just about to turn two, and one that's 3 or 4 months old. I'd have to ask grandma to get the exact.
It's fine. That's fine. I'm not good at math either.
Yeah.
And they grow fast.
Yes.
My granddaughters took her senior high school pictures the other day. So that's how fast that goes. My one granddaughter, I have all boys, and a new one's a boy also is coming. I had two girls myself. Now I got an abundance of boys. I think it's hilarious. Right. That didn't happen for me. I kept thinking if I kept having kids, it'd be more girls, more girls, more girls. I had a feeling. My grandmother had 5 boys, no girls. So it's like in our family, we're all or nothing. Apparently, it was like one or the other, like some kind of weird thing.
Yeah.
So this discussion, so folks, I'm sorry if anybody gets offended. We don't mean to offend nobody. So I'm an open, honest discussion. This is what we do on this show and all my shows that I do. It's all about discussion. It's all about discussion, and we're going to talk about this. It's a subject that I ran across this online somewhere, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit with Greg, and that is, well, first the role of the grandfather to his grandsons. I've had shows with the father to sons. And they like I'm talking grandparent to son, because it's a whole different animal when it's not your child, it's your child's child. So I was going to ask you, as you're moving along, because your kid, they're young, your grandkids are young. Are you still able to are you guys are doing great in terms of being parents, grandparents, children? Is that relationship doing pretty well right now?
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. And of course, I chalk it up to being about 500 miles away. And, having visits that last about a week or 2 weeks at a spell. So, by the time we start maybe getting on each other's nerves a little bit, then it's time to go. And of course, that's really hard for grandma. And it's hard for me as well. But it's a little bit different because I think I grew up with let's say a long distance grandfather myself. So an idea of a grandfather being in the same town is kind of foreign to me. It's always kind of grandparents come and go. But yeah, we've been having a really great relationship, I think, so far between me, my sons, my daughter-in-laws, and then the grandchildren. So able to separate some things out, but then also have pretty positive discussions, but occasionally having what I would say some touchy discussions, in that myself and my daughter-in-laws are still figuring out these relationships. I mean, they've been in the family like 4 years, 5 years, that sort of thing. So of course, we're still kind of figuring each other out, figuring out senses of humor. But it's great that we're getting a real good sense of trust in each other and being able to have those open and frank conversations so that things don't build up with us.
You brought up two really good points. And the one really good point is the distance. I grew up with except I have one grandmother who was here. All the rest of my grandparents and great parents were elsewhere. And I didn't realize, you just said just now, I go, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. My kids guys have like a grandparent or two there, and the rest of us are somewhere else. I didn't know until just, I love doing these shows. I always have epiphanies on these shows. But like, yeah, I've never had a grandfather. I was close to my grandfather, so I never had one in the same city. And now my grandkids are going through the same thing. I'm not in the same city. Wow, I just put that together until just now. But that does give you a different lens on grandparenthood, growing up with grandparents somewhere else. Like you said, they come to visit, and they come and they leave, or you go visit them and you stay for a little bit, and then you come back home. Different than having, I have people on the show who are basically co-raising the kids. I mean, they're kind of the grandkids. They're kind of because they're always around. There is a difference. My sister lives with two of her grandkids, so it's a whole different world than the one she has that lives somewhere else. That's a good point, Brina. I get to put that one on the show. I don't know why that's not really a topic on here. I have to note that. Distance grandparenting. That's what we're gonna call that. That'll be another show. I might bring you on back for that one. But no, okay. When we're talking about that, though, that actually goes into, and as you're saying, figuring out the relationships with your daughters-in-law, and even with your sons on some level. It's a newer level to that.
Right.
But also with the grandkids. This is exactly what we're talking about. It's how, so when they're still so young, but this is the formative stages of the bonding process. We always talk about the grandmothers. We always talk about them. That's all they're talked about through song and dance and musicals and everything. It's all about the mothers. But we don't get talked about that much. And so for you have a podcast, you're all about this like I am. For you, in the private moments, how do you go there and go, okay, I'm going to go see my grandkids. I got to make sure I get time. Like, why do you prepare yourself when you go to see them in terms of being a grandparent to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I try to do is when we figure out when we're going up to Virginia to go see the kids and the grandkids, I try to figure out what's really the purpose of the trip besides the visit. We want to visit, of course, that's there, right? But we might have a birthday, we may have some holiday time, we may have some, maybe the kids are going through something where they need some support on site. So there's a little bit of a planning, and this is probably the project manager in me that comes out. Yes. Is like, okay, so what are we up there to try to do? And then figure out what it is that we're up there to do, support the kids, enjoy the holidays, so do the birthdays. But then it's going to be, hey, daughter-in-laws, and I mainly work with them because they control the schedules, even for my kids. So they're great with that. And it's like, hey, I really want to take my grandson, Charlie, to the Air and Space Museum. What day is going to work great for that? So that they can tell me, when does he have preschool? Does he have some doctor's appointments? Does he have anything like that? So we've got an idea of maybe some expectations of what I want to do as far as some one-on-one time with the grandson. But then it's not a surprise when we show up and go, hey, everybody, I want to just tomorrow wake up and go take my grandson. And then it disrupts everything about that. So, I'm very aware of trying to communicate with the daughter-in-laws and my sons about, hey, Tuesday night, does that work to go out to dinner and take the family out to dinner? Can I do some one-on-one time with Charlie, the 4-year-old? How about we babysit? We give my son Steven and his wife Lindsay, Friday night, why don't you guys go do date night? Me and grandma are going to sit and we're going to babysit our granddaughter. And, I think giving some expectations and doing some planning before we show up really helps set some expectations. And then the other thing too is I'm asking them about what is it that you guys need from us? Is there something going on with Charlie that you want us to reinforce some behavior, or you want us to, help you guys with, I don't know, behavior modification sounds weird, but hey, work with him on potty training, some of those types of things. And then the same thing with the 2-year-old granddaughter. The other granddaughter, she's so young, she just is happy to have a bottle and her diaper changed. So we try to really communicate ahead of time some expectations, find out what it is they need us to work with the grandchildren on, and even just be there. Sometimes it's like, hey, they just need some one-on-one time, take them to the lake, splash around, play, do that sort of thing. That would be awesome. So we don't try to overthink it, but at the same time, we want to have some loose plans so everybody's on the same page and has the same expectations.
Yeah, no, it's for me, my daughters, they take, the husbands do whatever they want, apparently. The daughters do everything. So it's like, so communication is with them. I got to talk to the women. And luckily, they're my daughters. So I was dealing with the men. The men are like, oh, we like Papa Jamie, he's fine. We get along. I get along with both of them, it's fine. So they're just like, okay, we let them kind of handle it. A lot of times, they're if it's like you said, it's funny you say, you make all these good points. That's why you have your own podcast. But the whole, if it's an event visit or a non-event visit, I'm taking all these notes. I just love it because it's so true. There are times when I'm going to just go visit, and that's usually a little looser. I usually, okay, I want to take because I have one granddaughter. I want to make sure I give her time, because the boys are a different story. Or I'm taking the boys out because it's that kind of thing. Versus it's their birthday, and so obviously priority is this. But I'll tell you, it was because okay, so there's one, and then 5 years later, the other two came. They call Irish twins. They just worked really fast. So anyway, so they're all close in age. That's kind of the point I'm getting to. And yours are kind of close in age too. Right there. So I found that when they were little and they wanted my attention, that was the hardest time, was trying, because they were all grabbing at me for attention. And I loved it. I mean, I had no problem. I loved it. It was like, after a couple of days, I was ready to fall out. But I mean, it was a lot of fun trying to figure it out. And then as they got older, I had to carve out time a different way and say, okay, well, now this person actually has a certain need they want from me. This person wants to do this with me. So I've had to learn how to, now I'm starting over again. I'm like, the 3 older ones are almost done. I got new ones coming. That'll be close in age also. So I can't help that. But I know that juggling act is really hard. But you're right, it's event versus non-event. That's also very important in telling them what you do. I just, like I said, I had all these boys that. My granddaughter Scarlett we're very close. I was like, I want to make sure that she gets her space. Like, so maybe like my daughter will say, okay, we're going to pick you up from the airport or train, so wherever I'm coming in from. We'll go have lunch, the 3 of us. So it's me and my girls. I always say, me and my girls have lunch. And then later for dinner, go to where the boys want to go for dinner. And it could be Jack in the Box. It could be somewhere fancy, who knows, right? So we had to learn. So we had to kind of learn that, so that everybody gets their piece. And I will tell you, it's taken me 17 years of being a grandparent, or more, how long I've been a grandparent, I can't do math, as we established at the top of the hour, to finally find a balance. The last 2 times I went, maybe because it was COVID too, because I didn't see them as much during COVID, but when I saw them, I got quality time with each grandchild, including the new one, each daughter, and each son-in-law. I was proud of myself. I got like separate time with all of them at some point. And I was like, oh, James Laundry, Papa Jamie, you're doing good. You're doing good. So, but it took me 17 years. For you, hopefully it won't happen like that for you that long. But it took me a while, Greg. It's been a while. There's a lot of work.
Oh, sure. And I think that's one of the things too that we try to figure out. And a difference now with grandparenting with this Gen X generation and the trailing end of the boomers, right, is because what the boomer generation learned was that grandfathers were kind of ancillary to an extent. Grandfathers were there for a Christmas dinner. They wrote some checks and some birthday cards, but they really didn't, they weren't really, taking the kids out to Jack in the Box and sitting down and doing this stuff. So we're really kind of figuring this out on the go. And there's a lot of great lessons learned from a lot of people like us, where it's like, hey, you've got to carve out this time, because they really do need that grandpa time. I mean, as much as grandmas are there in front and center for so much, I think this Gen X baby boomer trailing generation is really inserting itself and being much more active. And part of that is being able to be accessible, checking in with each grandchild and making sure that we understand what they need. And I think we see the risk of when that doesn't happen, when kids don't have any kind of male influence in their life, or any kind of direction from that other side. They don't get that masculine with the feminine. And it's not to, call out single moms or different family relationships, dynamics. But I think there's a great opportunity for grandfathers to step in, be much more visible and active in those kids' lives in a positive way of checking in, giving the granddad's perspective on things. That sort of influence. And man, is that needed more now than ever before, in my opinion.
Okay, we're gonna lead right into that. So I agree with you completely. I think you said I agree with you completely. Okay, so I know I read somewhere there's 79 different pronouns or something going on right now, and genders and stuff. Okay, so I have no problem with any of that stuff. I mean, I'm like, be who you are. That's fine with me. I have no problem. Yeah. But in the world that I am in currently with my grandchildren and the families that we're in, it is very much, and I guess even with them too, it's still masculine, feminine energy. There is a balance. That's a thing that's spiritual, natural, is a whole thing. Now, what we call ourselves or do, that's a whole other story. But I think the energies, the experiences of the feminine and masculine, I think both boys and girls both need in their lives. And again, not calling out anybody. I know a lot of single mothers, they do what they could. Some people will find their village. It may not be a dad. It could be a grandfather, their father, or uncles, or male friends. Wherever you can get it. I'm like, as long as they're positive role models, ain't nothing wrong with that. But this is where I was reading this thing about that. I was like, with all the changing perspectives from the millennial Gen Z folks that are happening, because you mentioned the Boomer X, which is us, the next generation is changing. I was saying that I still think it's very important for, like, especially, well, boys and girls. I mean, girls too. They need to know that their dads and granddads are good men, so they pick good men. But like you said, that boys, that's my focus, that they grow up unbroken and harmful and productive members of society. That's very important to me, that all my grandsons grow up that way. I didn't have sons, so I have grandsons, so that's my focus. My first grandson's grown, he's doing great. Now I got other two and the one coming that I want to make sure. So I want to ask you, what is your, I know you're still newer at this, but right now, what is your, I don't want to say branding. We know your branding is online, cool grandpa. Yeah. But what is your, for me, I am the jovial, jolly, big guy, big jolly male figure who tells it like it is, but in a way that you can completely plainly understand. The grandkids love talking to me. I just tell them plainly, within reason. I tell them plainly like it is, and I'm very supportive. But so my branding is kind of like, oh, Papa Jim, he's loud, he's theatrical. I'm in the business. I'm theatrical. I'm big, but don't mess with him. But he will always be supportive and talk to you straight up. That's my kind of grandparent branding. So you're developing yours. What is yours right now?
Yeah, I think I'm borrowing a lot from my experience as working with the Boy Scouts of America for 12 years at their summer camp program, as a Little League coach, as a Scoutmaster, which is, for me, it's some of those things where it's the jovial, good, fun-loving, smart-ass, those sorts of things. But then it's also a little bit of the the guide. I'd love for people, if they think about me in relationship to boys or girls, whatever it is, I like the idea of that white-haired, white beard, Gandalf or Sholin monk type, that person that can give a perspective that's a little bit more in depth and far reaching than just the immediate reaction, right? It's like, hey, you can, if I have a grandson and he's getting bullied in school, it can be like, hey, you can punch that kid in the nose and I'll support you on that. But let's think about what's going to happen and let's be okay with all these steps. So for me, I like the idea, or hopefully I'm that person that is a little bit more of a guide in that sense. When I'm not being a smart ass, when I'm not down wrestling and throwing kids around in the pool and doing all that stuff, I'm hopefully it is that person that's being able to talk to them about, what's going on in their lives and what's the bigger picture. Because so many kids, teenagers especially, I went through this, your whole world is what's going to happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You don't care about racking up student loan debt because you want to get books paid and you want to get junk at the student store tomorrow.
Yes.
You're looking for the date for this weekend. You're not thinking in longer terms, and that's natural. That's part of progression, but that's also where your older, I don't know, you call them sages, you call them grandfathers, you call them whatever it is you call them. That's when those guys typically would step in, at least for the young men, and go, cool your jets for a second, Junior. Let's think about this for a moment.
I like that. Yeah, no, definitely. All my grandsons know I'll do that. I'll call them out in a second. I'm like, so who are you talking to? I remember once my grandson Zayn, who's been on the show, we had a good time. It's funny, back when he was in high school, there was a girl he was interested in, went to a different school. Apparently that's some big thing, date different school. I don't know what was on there. So we went in there. I went to go with them to pick him up from that girl's house. There was a party and a bunch of kids were there and the parents were there too. So my daughter and I go over to pick him up, whatever. And so I go inside and I'm like, and my role is kind of being almost like the extended dad thing where you're kind of telling dad jokes, and like me and the girl's father were close in age. Just happened that he had kids later. So we were like laughing and joking around and kind of talking, whatever. And so we get in the car. And so my daughter is that typical mom, is kind of like, so let's get, just kind of like being kind of annoying to him a little bit. And I was like, let's just break it down. So, do you like her? Blah, blah. And he starts laughing. And it's like, I'm the grandparent. I could do something a little different. Mm-hmm. And then he started talking, and he started telling us where if it was just her, there are things he probably wouldn't have said just because, they don't do that because he's a teenager. But because I was making it kind of funny and fun, and then we all did it. Then we got a little serious towards it. I was about some stuff, and it was like, well, make sure this and that and the other. And it was kind of fun, but it was like my role was, I'm always a cheerleader supporter for you. I always tell my granddaughter, my pretty girl, my beautiful girl. I always say that. I've been saying since she was a kid. Like, you're so smart, you're so talented. Yeah, of course you got that award because you're talented. You worked hard, and I'm always that with all the kids. And so when they see me, they know that Papa Jamie probably has a kind word or two. I wanted that to happen also, because my grandparents were always kind to me. They were always very much like, James, you're so smart, or you're so this, or you're so that. I thought those encouraging words do last. This is what I always say. And I've taken this from Whoopi Goldberg, and I'll gladly steal from her. I met her once, and I will gladly steal from her. Bad words really aren't, excuse my language, anybody, about to say a couple bad words. Damn, or fuck, or shit. Those really aren't bad words. Bad words are stupid. You're dumb. You don't mean anything. You're not worthy. Those are bad words, Greg.
Yeah.
And I feel like as grandparents, as grandfathers, part of my job is to, I don't know who tells you what, wherever. I don't know if it's your parents or school kids or whatever down the street. I'm here to come in and be the jolly supporter And I'm like, no, of course you're smart. Of course you can do this. You know you can try. Just work harder, or you need any help, or that's my job. I always feel like. I don't know about you. That's how I feel about that.
No, I agree with that 100% because, and I forget what it is. Maybe it was something around Twitter or Facebook or all the social media stuff, right? Is that when you post something, I post something, for, every negative comment, it almost takes like 10 positives to just neutralize that.
Yes.
And it's somewhere, and I'm kind of screwing this up, but it's there, I want to say, so everybody sue me if I get it wrong, whatever, write negative comments in the thing.
Yes,
but
write them.
It's something around like, for every negative, it takes a multiple of positive to take that out, right? And so one of the biggest things with kids and with adults, I mean, I do it too, is it's not only those bad words of you're not worthy, you're stupid, you're awkward, you're not cool, all of those things, right? That you hear externally as a kid growing up and going through school, it's internal as well. And so, you've got to have grandpa and grandma on your side because kids are going to tune out their parents.
Yes.
You could be the most loving mother in the world. You could be Julie Andrews from Sound of Music, right?
Yes.
And telling somebody how smart and beautiful they are. That teenage daughter is going to tune that out. But if a grandpa comes in and goes, you know what? You're so pretty today. That dress looks awesome on you. You're so clever. You're so, if we feed that, hey, we can knock some of those negatives down a little bit and help those kids with some of their self-esteem and help them without even knowing it, turn from a negative direction into a positive direction. And that's why grandfathers, I think, are so important in grandkids' lives.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's very true. I think, we want, there are things we want to impart. There are things we want to say, and I know that I'm very clear. I'm not their parent, nor do I want to be their parent. I'm done, Greg. I've raised children. I'm done. It's all about me right now. So I'm like, I'm done. So trust me, I'm not one of my daughters once in an argument, because you argue sometimes, like, you just want to be there. No, I don't be their father. I raised you two little things. I'm done. I mean, life is, I'm free. Well, you're never really free, of course. That's the myth. The kids are always kids. I still go to my mother sometimes too. So we always laugh about that, like the hierarchy, how that goes. But no, I'm very clear. I don't want to be their father. If they have a father, they have a father. I'm like, I'm good to go. And both except for one grandkid, they all have their fathers. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I want to be the grandfather. I want to come in and just, because I have things I can tell them about you when you were a kid and kind of make a little joke. Like my mom, it was so funny. My daughter and granddaughter came to visit. And so here we are, 4 generations, and you're sitting at the house, my mom's house. It's kind of cool. And my mother's telling stories of me and my brothers and sisters as kids to my daughter and my granddaughter. And so they're laughing. We're having a good old time. Yucking it up. I'm like, that's the point. We're here to pass on family stuff and situations that the parents may not want to feel like talking about or may not give it. And you're making their parents kind of human a little bit too, because you're kind of like, when they were kids, they loved doing that too. They played water polo just like you did. Like, we're making connection for the grandkids. And so my mother, 1-2 punch, made connection to her granddaughter and her great granddaughter. And so at one time about me. And I thought that was kind of fun. So I do it to them. I go, oh my God, your mother was so like this when she was 18. Like, I love that kind of generational connection, and kind of that's my job. That's our job. It's great. It's like, we have, like you said, a little more extra far reaching. We've been around longer. We may say things differently than the parents do. You're right. Sorry, parents. They're going to, I mean, we all tune down our parents at some point. I mean, that's just kind of how that is. It's they don't love you, like that. Just that it's a natural thing. And my youngest grandson with my one daughter, he's now in her teenagehood. And so he's kind of doing some stuff to his parents. but he talks to me fine with respect and totally. I'm like, yeah, we're fine. So I was like, that's kind of what happens. You're going to go through it. Usually come out the other side. Usually. I mean, both my daughters, though, we both had huge issues at one point, and then they went away. I mean, I grew up and they did their thing. So I think it's one of those things where we are kind of like the next level for the parents, and we're part of the team with the parents also. Like you said earlier, we're part of the team, and our role is like, well, no, we're even a kind of beyond them, so to speak. No, these are your parents. Listen to them. They're their things. But now here we come in and we have a little extra to tell you, extra to share, which can be fun. Be fun also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I had my son with me over the weekend. We flew him down from Virginia to hang out for a couple of days. And I knew we had this conversation coming up. And I asked him about how he saw my relationship with our grandson, his son, as that grandson's going to start, as he continues to get older and that develops. And he was saying that the grandson is going, the sons and daughters will look to the parents for kind of day-to-day guidance on how to handle situations, how to do things. And he knows he's not going to be perfect with that. So, but he thinks that where I can come in is to give that longer perspective, a little bit about what I was talking about. He broke it down as like, the kids are going to see mom and dad in a very tactical situation that they're trying to figure everything out on the fly. And at some point they'll figure out mom and dad don't really know what they're doing, but they're trying to do the best they can. But that he'll look and the granddaughter will look to me for that little bit more strategic thinking and that strategic view. So I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective, and it tracks great with what we're talking about.
It does. That's great. No, see, I'm the calming force. I come in because I'm like the big joke. So folks, get mad if you want. It's all. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but I would always come in and like, hey, where's my booze? Where's my baby? So I would have a drink in one hand, a baby in the other. And the big joke was I could juggle all that, still make dinner, whatever, all the same. I mean, I know. I mean, I'm that. I come in. I mean, and look at the car. That kind of thing. Like I could do it all. I'm the grandparent. I say with the grandmothers, we can do 10 things at once. We've done it. So the baby slips out your hands. Oh, we've been fine. We have remedies for that. Like that kind of joking. Like we can kind of. The parents are right. They're figuring it out. We've been there already. And it's almost like, and especially when it comes to the ones who have their first child, it is to me, Greg, hilarious. Because, oh my God, my one daughter, we have schedules, and it's gonna be all this and that. And then we have this going on here. We're gonna do this over here, and I have this over here. And it's like, I'm just going, sure, whatever you say, girl. Okay, whatever you say. And then when they have the second child, yeah, she loosened up. So it's like it's but for me, because we've been there, we know what's going on. Like, first of all, babies are resilient, number one. They're resilient, and kids are resilient. And that's the thing. It's like we've been there, done that. We have things we can offer our children who are raising kids. We have things we can offer them. And I used to be a nurse. So I have that also. So I have that extra to go, Papa, what are your daddy? What? I'm like, okay, just do this, grab this, and I'm like, and not break a sweat. I'm like, okay, I've done that. And then I go, he's all yours. Bye. And I leave, go back to the hotel. That kind of, it's like, I'm here to come in and be still and not add stress. I think grandparents should be, a place where they don't add stress to the parenting. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. 1,000% on that one, James. If we're not a calming influence, and when we visit or when we communicate or whatever, we should not be adding any stress to the situation. If we've got daughter-in-laws, in my case, it's daughter-in-laws, right? And there's a lot of stress and pressure that they put on themselves as these young women. Oh my God, they're judging me. Is the house clean enough? Is this fine? Is this, and a lot of that's internal, but then some of that is social too, right? Because you're seeing social media everybody's taking pictures of the perfect, cute little nurseries, and,
Yes.
cleaned up. Nobody ever takes a picture of a kid's room with toys all over the
Everywhere,
place.
Legos
And
everywhere.
right. And kids, chomping on something, a sharp edge of a Lego or something.
Right, yeah,
Nobody's
exactly.
it's all the perfect stuff. So there's tons of pressure. And, I would say as grandfathers and with grandmothers, spouses, we should make every attempt we can to keep visitations, keep communications, whatever, as low key, low stress as we can. There's going to be stuff that happens. I mean, there's emergencies that happen. There's things that pop up. Somebody's sick, somebody's, whatever it is, there will be stress. But at the same time, when we come in, we should almost have that little bit of a Mary Poppins attitude. There I go with Julie Andrews again.
I know that. See that right there.
I've got a crush. You got to make sure we hashtag Julie Andrews on this one, right?
Exactly.
But that Mary Poppins thing of like kids are running around, the house is in chaos. The son has one expectation, the daughter-in-law's got another. We walk in and we go, oh, it's fine. Grandpa and grandma are here. We're going to help support the adult children, and we're going to help you guys get to a place where you can be stress-free for a couple of days while we're on site. That's the goal anyway.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think that's so that's what I always strive for, because I remember when my grandparents came to visit, for me, it was a lot of fun. I hope they got along, and the adults got along. They didn't hid it from me, but it was always like, oh no, it's very exciting. They're coming. We're going to see them. It was always a good time. And when I went to go see them, it was back and forth. Same thing. I'd go visit grandpa and grandma for a month. And it was like, oh, it was great. It was a good time. And I had great grandparents too, so I lucked that I had both. Till I was in my early 20s, I had them both. So I lucked out. But I completely feel like my job. See, I'm very fortunate. When it came to my first daughter had 3 kids, and on the show, if you listen to the show, people I've talked about this before. So my oldest grandson had a father who died. So that's why she got with someone else. He died and she got with someone else. So his father and I was friends with his family. So I knew him, knew his whole family. There was never an issue. The new guy came in, but he's not new anymore now. He's like 17 years into it. It's not new anymore. But when he came in, we got along great. And his father and I, the grandfather, we got along until he died too. I'm like one of the few grandfathers left in all the whole family. All the men seem to die, except for me. I'm still here. But like me and him, we got along great. It was Marvin, we got along great. We loved music. Our thing was music. So we got along really great. But I lucked out with that set. I would just come. I remember it was like maybe 6 years in. I actually started, because when I used to go and stay with them. I'd come, Papa J would come to town, whenever I felt like it. I just came and stayed, and I whatever. And then one day I was like, his name is Mike. I go, Mike, is it okay that I come stay? I just realized I've never really, it's your house too, and I've never really asked you how you felt. I did like a check-in with them. And I love you. I was like, you're my girl's dad, and my kids love you, and you and I are great. We always have great talks. Also, and he and I always like, I love his mom, the other grandmother. So he's like, oh no, I never. He goes, I appreciate you saying that, though. I never. I just like, it was never a no-brainer. You're very important. So when you come to town, there's no question. I lucked out because not all spouses feel that way about the in-laws. Right. They don't. So I'm admitting on here that first half, it was completely I don't have a problem to this day. No problem. Now my other daughter married someone. Her husband and I, we're not super close, but we're okay. But that one is a lot more. I have to ask permission and see what's going on and talk to him. He did ask me for her hand in marriage. He did call me, did the whole thing, and I was very impressed. I don't care, folks. I like tradition sometimes. I don't care. I liked it. I know everybody's like, that's outdated or whatever. I don't care. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Right, Greg? I loved it.
Absolutely. Hey, that's your little girl, man. You got to make sure, that he measures up. That, starting out that way is a great, good foot forward kind of thing.
Yeah, so. I did ask him questions. And my daughter was so flattered that I did that. She was so happy I did that. because he and I had a few little issues in the beginning, as men do, right? You know, trying. I had to be, again, here comes the grandparent part. I had to be the bigger one of the two of us and go, okay, I think he's just trying to mark his territory a little bit and almost show me that he's good for her. I had to change the lens of how I was seeing it, Greg, and go, I think he's just trying to show me that he can take care of her, that he has a brain, you know, for her and all this kind of, and so I kind of started to see it differently a little bit and not get like super in my, because I get my feelings I want to.
Yeah, well, and that's a great thing that you were able to do, because it sounds like, the little bit I know, that there's some insecurities there on his side as well. I mean, that asking you and trying to do, you know, go through the right procedure, let's say, and then being able to prove to you like, hey, I can take care of your girl. I can do, you know, I can step into this role of protector, provider, you know, these different, you know, we're going back to masculine roles, but
Right.
you know, and there's some insecurities there. I mean, it's kind of natural, and the way that those things can come out can be super awkward, or could even come across as being really aggressive. So
Yeah.
you know, taking that step back and being able to you know, disengage a little bit is, you know, I think that's a great thing.
Only because I've had some training. That's why.
Yeah, you've got some tread on the tire.
I do some training. I'm a certified life coach. I've had some external training too. I got some degrees. Because Greg, I'm a man inside out, and I'm a Taurus. And that, if you know Taurus people, I can really.
Oh yeah.
I have a forked tongue, Greg. A forked tongue. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy. Compared to him, I'm a big guy, so I could take him. No. Oh, just joking, everybody. Just joking. But no, I had to learn. I did. I'm glad that I did change the perspective, because ultimately she's happy with him. I don't want to do it. Again, I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to add any stress to them.
Right.
You don't
Right.
You don't want to do that. So with this one, it's very interesting. I'm learning. This is going to be a different situation where I probably will have to ask. And so it's something new for me. It's going to be a new thing. I got lucky the first time around where it was a little more let loose. There's going to be a little more structured. Doesn't mean one's better than the other, but I'm gonna flow with it and do what I can. And because of COVID, I have not seen my new grandson Trenton that much in person. In LA, it's already running rapid again. They're already talking about maskings again. I mean, it's just everybody's getting it. I've had 5 scares. I've never gotten COVID. I don't know about you. Have you gotten it?
I have never tested positive for it.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where, like, I've had some head colds, I've had some stuff, and just a couple of days it went away, so I just didn't test. So
same here. I mean, we have allergies and stuff. I mean, I have a big garden with stuff in it. So for my thing is, people around me are getting it now. Everybody's just getting it. It's just running in LA. It's just really crazy. So I've been talking to him through video. We do a lot of video chat. He loves my deep voice, which most babies do. And we go back and forth. He loves the camera. I'm like, you are my grandchild. No. So we were doing that. So I had to shift as a grandparent there and go, okay, well, I'm not there. And I'm not there. I'm there even less now because of COVID. I have to find a way to get to him so he knows at least my presence. And thank God we have technology, because when the first grandkids were around, there wasn't really anything yet that had that. So I mean, now there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, there was no Snapchat. You know, so at least we have Snapchat or wherever we go back and forth and do that. So I'm trying to adjust with the times to still have my influence in there somewhere. And we send gifts and stuff, but I plan to see them soon in a few months, or in a month or so. But it's just like it's been a very interesting, just being a grandparent from afar, trying to insert just whatever values I have. That's another thing too. We have our own certain values that may be slightly different than our parent, than the parents, or actually is like the parents, and it's just another extension of it. I know some families that are Christian families that they have the same beliefs, so it's just the grandparents are a little different. And other times it isn't. It's just a whole different thing. Or we come from, like, my families are all interracial or interfaith or inter. So it's like different. So when I was growing up, I had grandparents, you know, this one's the Caribbean, this one's from Louisiana, this one's from New York. They all had something they wanted to share with me. And so my grandkids are going through the same thing. We all have I speak Spanish, we're trying to do like certain things. So it's a lot of stuff that we're trying to get into, right? Another thing, try to get all that stuff in there too. Add your piece of history into that grandchild.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the big things about that I love is being able to be the conduit to our ancestors. It's weird that term ancestors, I have to think, because I'm not trying to plug a book, but I've got a children's book, My Grandpa's Grandpa, which
plug it. Do you want, Greg? Plug it.
So the idea here is that I'm communicating with my grandson about my grandfather. And so, like with you got a bridge to, and I forget that grandfather's name from New York that smoked the cigar.
Grandpa
Bob. I swear, if there's a hereafter and we all meet up, I want you to introduce me because he sounds like an awesome dude.
Oh, you love him. Oh, you love him.
But for you to be able to go, hey kids, this is kind of the background. This is where you came from. This is where those ancestors are, is huge, because I think it gives the kids a sense of where they fit in the family and then where they fit in the world in general. Like, hey, I've got people that have come from the Caribbean. I've got people that have come from the deep South. I've got people that come from these different areas. So that blending in those ancestor stories are huge, because I think I was talking with somebody that typically we're a connection back over 100 years at this point. My grandfather was born 1919, so that's over 100 years. And so we're a living connection between over 100 year span between my grandkids and my grandparents.
Wow, yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, no, I found a picture of, it was my great-great-grandfather. So my father's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And his mother's father. So I found a picture of him, a picture of my dad, and a picture of my oldest grandson, Zayden. And I put it in a collage, the three of them. And I'm like, this is crazy. They all look related. And it was so weird because we're crossing color, but the DNA is all in there. Because folks, if you don't know this, I don't know if I told this on the show, I took this ancestry DNA test, Greg. I did the whole thing. I say it, it's so weird. I have it on print. I know it's me, and I have it on print, and everything. It's just crazy. I'm 47% white.
That's for some reason, I think we talked about it.
And we did. I can't remember if we did or not. Yes.
It was like Scandinavian or something too.
Yes.
Like
yes.
it's not just like, hey, French or Gallic. It's it's Scandinavian.
Western European.
Yeah.
I was like, which is Scandinavian. So I was like, my family's like, what? I'm like, and I do come, I'm from a biracial family, but just it was kind of like, so I'm literally half black, half white. Is that kind of in my DNA? Like, is that what's going on here? I guess it's so, it was just such a shock. And then they go, oh, that explains your blonde grandchildren, because how that happened? Where'd the blonde come from? Like, we were trying to figure out where the blonde came from. So it's kind of funny about DNA, but that was the thing, is that I was close to I had my Dutch grandfather, I had my Puerto Rican grandfather, I had my Creole grandfather. Like, I had them in my life, all looked different, all had different personalities and everything. But that picture I had, so I was like, literally, it's my grandson, his great-grandfather, and his great-great-great-grandfather. We're going like 8 generations, 6 generations. It was kind of cool, but he had the same ears, the same facial structure, the same haircut, kind of. Like, that was kind of weird. I'm like, so it skipped some generations or whatever. Like, it was really weird. So it was very cool. I did that. I sent it to them, said, take a look at this, you guys. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. And then I had on one of my shows, it's called A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr., I had an intuitive on. And she's talking about stuff. And she goes, wait a minute, James. Someone's here. I go, okay. Because we're through Zoom. She says, no, there is an older gentleman sitting on your shoulder over here, sitting by your shoulder. and he's smoking a cigar.
Oh.
And I go, are you sure? Because she said there's a gentleman here. I had lost a brother 5 or 6 years ago. So I miss him every day. So I think it's my brother. Because he said cigar. I go, does he look like me? He goes, yes, he looks like you, but he's dressed really impeccably. And he has a hat on and he has a cigar. And I go, so is it Bob? He goes, it's like Roberto or Robert or something. I go, my grandpa Bob goes, he's smiling. He's with you and he is smiling. And I was like, I never would have thought of all people in the world to be following me or watching me that he'd be one of them. I just didn't. I said we were close, but I just didn't. I don't. Maybe it was my own thought about do men follow? Usually always the grandmothers or the mothers. But literally, so I was told recently, Greg. It's funny you brought him up. I was told that he apparently is watching me and smiling.
I don't doubt it. And this is there's no theology or anything here, but I think occasionally, that intelligence, that soul, that whatever, occasionally those ancestors and even maybe close friends get peek in from time to time and go, I wonder what James is up to. I wonder what's going on. Let me check in and see what he's up to.
Well, I'm saying I apologize in advance to all of you in heaven if you want to see what I'm up to, because I got all kinds of things going on. So
yeah. No, they should not be checking in with me.
I was like, some days be great, some days you don't want to check in. So
you need to make an appointment.
Thank you. Exactly. That's hilarious, Greg. I like that. So no, but it's funny you brought him up. So that was a nice thought. When she said cigar, I knew exactly. Because I mean, folks, he ate with that cigar. He drank with that cigar. He conducted business with that cigar. I mean, he was so known for being the guy, but he was always. I have his rings, which is my girl that gave to me. I have his special rings. He had a pinky ring. I always thought he sounded like the guys from The Godfather. I was like, is he like part of the mob? I always thought that by now he wasn't. Obviously, I don't think so. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think he was. But he had that. He would walk into restaurants and just like Roberto, they just knew him.
Yeah,
they knew him, and he was a big spender, and he was like a big tipper, and he just thought he was just like all that. And I just thought he was so glamorous to me at the start. Oh my God, I go to visit New York. I'm like, wow, like, we're going to a fancy restaurant, a real steak. It's not Sizzler. Wow. It's not Bob Evans. Okay, what's going on? So I mean, so for me, it's like those are my fond memories of him. That he was a big talker, and I still have the deepest voice in my family, which is really weird, but he still had that big, he had a presence, and he was like 6'2" and big guy, and just like, but they just knew who he was, and that cigar was not far behind. So it's kind of, so if you're watching right now, I love you, Grandpa Bob. I think it's great. You made an impression on me. But yeah, I think as we come to a close, I could talk to you forever, Greg. We always have great conversations. I guess the ending thing is, I do think that a grandfather's role is still very important in grandchildren, and it crosses all genders, across all sizes. But for the children that identify as male, I think it's very important that we are there for them and show them examples of a fully formed human being man who has flaws. We all have. I'm far from perfect, but that I'm doing my best to also live my best life. And I think, I tell my grandkids when I can't make it to certain things because I have a work function or whatever, I try to always talk to them. My father worked a lot, and there were a lot of times he wouldn't talk to us, so I just felt abandoned. I try to talk to them and go, this is why I can't make it, and I'm going to miss this, but I'll try to make it up to you afterwards. And I think they understand a little more than if I just was like, I got to work. And I think that's a grandparent's job, is again, to give them security and go, I love you so much, and I will be there next weekend, but this is a work function I have to go to, and I can't get out of it as part of my job. And they know I work in Hollywood, so my schedule is very varied. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. I mean, we had the Emmys recently. The Emmys are coming up again. Like I can't come to the birthday party because I have the Emmys. I mean, I just have to do them. So I mean, for my business. So I mean, that's how I make money. But that's what they understand. And I go, I'll buy even bigger present when I come out. Okay, Mama J, we'll see you later. That's fine. Have a good time on the Emmys. Once I say that, they're like, okay, that's fine. Or I'll take you to Knott's Berry Farm. Okay, fine. I'm like, whatever. Just like, whatever. That's great. We'll go to Disneyland when I get back. Okay, that's fine. Everybody's good. Then they kind of get good. But I feel like That's my job, is to show them that that I'm a human being that's doing the best that I can, and hopefully I can inspire them to be the best they can. That's kind of how I look at it.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with that. You know, the thing I would tack on too is, as important as it is to help reinforce what young boys are learning to be a man and come up in that world, it's also important for the granddaughters to be getting that as well, because gives them a healthy yardstick of what healthy relationships look like, what healthy interactions look like, and hopefully it keeps them away from the bad boys. That's a whole other discussion.
That's a discussion. I'll tell you, my daughters, the bad boys were scared of them. So I lucked out, actually. The guys they got with were nice. I felt bad for them. I'm just kidding. But my granddaughter, I'm worried for them because they like kind of that. So I'm like, oh, and Skip Generation did it, skipped. I lucked out in that. In that area, I lucked out. My girls were very independent, fiercely independent, strong-willed, said their mind kind of girls. The next generation, they're a little different. So I'm like, oh, it's happening, isn't it? It's already happening, isn't it? So yes, me and my daughters do commiserate over that. Oh, I got it. So, but yeah, it's good. Great, Payne. You have to come back, of course, as always. Have to come back.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we'll get you back on the podcast as well.
Yes, I would love to.
This has been awesome.
And now this is your chance to promote the F out of yourself. Go ahead and tell them where they can find your goodness.
Yeah, so I've got the Cool Grandpa podcast available wherever fine podcasts are sold. And, the other thing too is coolgrandpa.us is the website. So you can find all the back episodes and some of the cool resources that I've got there for grandpas. And the other thing too is just, folks, remember, even though I'm focused on talking grandpa stuff, so much of this is just about relationships. And you can pull everything that we're talking about as far as grandfathers and apply it to husband-spouse relationships and father-daughter, father-son.
Yep.
It's about relationships, folks. It's about connecting, growing those relationships. So thank you, James, so much for having me on. This has been absolutely fantastic, as always.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Greg. Everything you said, I agree completely. Our podcasts were all podcasts are sold. They're at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, all those Apple. We're also part of FeedSpot Today. I give a shout out to them. They always put us every week in their digital magazine. So that's feedspottoday.com, I believe. And then the video version is on my online network, which celebrated 2.5 years. I'm working it out, Greg, working it out. That's JLJ Media. Now, I also want to tell you, it's my first time saying this on this podcast, since you've seen me last, a couple of extra things. We have merchandise now. You can go to jljmedia.threadless.com, and I am putting stuff on there. More coming. I'm not done. I'm only one man. I'm not going to do so much, but I'm putting more stuff on there. We have cute ones. You can get bath towels, beach towels, bags, mugs, t-shirts, tank tops, men, women, babies, everything. So you'll see some of our styles on there right now. Also, I am on buymeacoffee.com. That is called buymeacoffee.com/James Lott Jr. You can buy me a coffee. Nice. The coffee's in quotes. It's a tip jar for creatives. And I already have 9 followers. I just started this, 9 followers on there, supporters on there. And I just released a podcast only for that platform. It's called Lots and Lots of Coffee with James Lott Jr. And we talk coffee. That's right, Greg. We talk all kinds of coffee. It's a great podcast. It's so much fun. I have actually guests coming on the show. It's kind of crazy. But if you buy me a coffee, that unlocks that podcast and other things in there. So it's called buymeacoffee.com. It's to help me. I drink coffee all the time. So it helps me stay awake as I'm trying to work out all of this. So those are 2 things for you to think about and check on. But again, to all the grandparents out there, we love you. We're in solidarity. So the ones who are having issues, we feel for you, and we're also supporting you. I know things aren't as easy, and times are tough. I know a lot of us can't see our grandkids as we want to, we talked about on the show also, we understand that also with COVID running rapid, we have monkeypox and gas prices is like $20 a gallon out here in Los Angeles. I understand it's tough to make those decisions to maybe not be able to see your grandkids in person for a while. So Greg and I can speak for him too. We feel for it. We understand, and as long distance grandparents, we understand. Everyone, take care of yourselves, be kind, and have compassion.